Hi everyone. Well, it's time to make a batch of votives. I've got my containers ready. I've been putting the wax into a pot, and as it's a nice day here, I've taken the opportunity to melt the wax on my picnic stove outside and brought it in here to finish off. I thought I'd demonstrate the double boiler method today rather than using my candle melter specifically made for the task, as you may wish to try out candle making using basic pots and pans before buying tailor-made equipment. When cooking food, the double boiler method refers to steam producing the heat. However, when candle making, I found it fine to submerge the saucepan or jug into the water, which gently heats the wax. As the wax melts, we give it a stir and then remove old wicks and tabs using the tweezers. When it's fully melted, take the smaller saucepan or jug out of the larger pan and put it on a trivet to cool. I'm now going to monitor the temperature of the wax and I'll be back shortly. Here we are a few minutes later and we're ready to carry on as the temperature is 75 degrees Celsius. I like to use a small jug to pour the wax into the containers, and so I'm going to decant it into the smaller jug now. When you pour wax, if you do it nice and slowly, any debris for the most part should stay in the bottom of the jug. But if there's a lot of debris, decanting is the perfect opportunity to strain the wax. Should there be a lot of small particles, using some muslin works really well. So we pour the wax, and it's best to leave about 3/4 of an inch below the rim of the container. We then just check that the wick is in an upright position and leave it to cool. As the wax cools, it solidifies and shrinks. The wax clings to the wick and the glass and forms a U shape. After it's cooled, you simply reheat the wax left in the jug to about 70 degrees and top it up. This is one I prepared earlier. You may need to do this a couple of times until the wax cools to a flat surface. The wick's then trimmed to 1/4 of an inch and it's ready to use like this one. Perfect. You'll soon come to know the amount of wax you'll need for a particular number of candles in a batch, and if there's some wax left in the jug, it's fine to leave it, as it can be remelted later on for the next batch. It doesn't work, by the way, trying to accelerate the cooling process by putting the candles in the fridge or freezer. They're best left to cool naturally. At the correct melting temperature, you'll be able to pick the container up by hand, and should the wick come away from the tab, simply pour the wax back into the pot and carry on with the next container. There's more chance the wick will come away from the tab if you pour the wax before it's cooled properly. In this instance, the container is naturally very hot. If this happens to you, it's not a good idea to pick it up with your fingers or the tweezers, as I found out when it slipped out, bounced off the table and smashed on the floor. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Anyway, that's when I invested in some oven gloves. One other tip is these thin plastic sheets are absolutely brilliant when candle making. They're used to put pet bowls on and are perfect in that if you spill wax on them, you simply let it dry. It will become brittle, and by bending it, the wax will fall off.